Hello everyone and welcome to our third in our three-part webinar series, The Power of a True Holistic Approach to Fertility with the AlphaZita Holistic Fertility Team. We are so pleased that you're joining us today. As you can see, you have me, Sarah Holland, and Claire Spink speaking to you. We'll introduce ourselves a little bit more to you shortly. But here we are at our third part. I'm really hoping that you have watched parts 1 and 2 as well, as then you will see the whole picture of how we work as a team and how a holistic approach to your fertility can really make the biggest of differences. So today is a really important step. We're going to be talking about success and the step of succeeding on your fertility journey and what that can look like. So we'll talk about that more in a second. And what we will be sharing with you today is the outline and the potential of a true holistic approach. And if you like the sound of this and you enjoy hearing from us as a team and you'd like to work with us further, we're going to be giving you a really special opportunity to meet us in person and to work with us as well. So we'll talk about that more towards the end of this webinar. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Claire Spink. Lovely to have you with us, Claire.
Hi Sarah, good to be back with you.
It's always lovely to speak to you about all these gorgeous topics, and I know this one is going to be really special, so yeah, I can't wait to get into it with you. But before we talk about what our topic is and share everything that we wish to today, could you give us just a brief introduction of yourself and your work and your part of the AlphaZita team?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Claire Spink and I'm the fertility massage therapist. I created fertility massage as a whole therapy, so it's not just a hands-on treatment where we work on the lower back and the abdomen, where we work on a lot of the physical aspects of getting the body in a good place and a position for fertility, but also the emotional and the spiritual. So we really dive into maybe what the energy blocks are. So it's a beautiful therapy that works as a whole treatment. And we bring in other things like ceremonies and honouring and welcoming in the souls of babies. So there's a few different aspects to fertility massage therapy.
Wonderful.
That's brief.
Very brief, because I know we could talk about it all day. And I know there's so much to the work you do. And I think already people who are perhaps know Dr. Sakos or know the connection to fertility treatment such as IVF that as a team we also support might be kind of intrigued as well about how your work and energy work and this completely different side can fit in with a holistic model. So I think the way that we work and the different therapies that we bring together alongside medical treatment really shows us what holistic means, you know, looking at the whole person, the whole woman, the whole man, the couple together, the life experience. It's a big picture that we look at, isn't it, which we're going to be talking lots about today.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And I am Sarah Holland. I know if you've watched the other webinars, you know who I am already, so very brief introduction from me. But my role within the team is as the fertility EFT coach. I support the women and couples who meet with us with the whole emotional and the experience side of their fertility journey, looking at any potential, as Claire was saying there, about emotional blocks or energetic blocks, but also the experience, any stress that they are experiencing, teaching them techniques to be able to manage that themselves as well. So really, however the fertility challenges or other aspects of life are having an impact on them and their fertility, looking to acknowledge and resolve and clear those as best we can to open the way to parenthood and to any treatment as well that they need. So both of the ways, although we are talking about kind of, you could say, a real truly holistic, energetic, different kind of approach to fertility to the medical side, we both do work very closely, don't we, Claire, to the medical world. You know, it's many of our clients are undergoing fertility treatment when they come to see us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's that support, isn't it, that we give them when they're going on a journey, an IVF journey. It's that nurturing side that they sometimes feel they're lacking. It's them feeling like they're whole and they're held as they go through the journey.
Yes.
So I think our role is really important. And I think that's why Dr. Sakos brought us into the team.
Absolutely, definitely. Yes. And I think, yeah, there's experience of fertility clinics and medical fertility treatment can feel the opposite to that. It can feel more clinical and, not having that kind of personal connection. So it's wonderful that this is possible, and it should be possible. So today we're talking about succeed and success. This is the third step, the third webinar following on in our series together. The first two steps that we looked at in our first two webinars, first of all, we looked at Explore, which was covering fertility and health testing and investigations from a holistic approach perspective, both on a natural side and a medical side, and how we can look at that testing process and bring all the results together. And then our second webinar, which I'm hoping that you've watched as well, is about Create, how we create a workable and effective plan based on those results that we have and that knowledge that we have about you, and how we can create a plan that is specific for you, tailored to you, to help you overcome your current challenges and obviously help you conceive your baby and create your family. So today is our third and final webinar, and it's one I'm sure that many of you are really looking forward to hearing about, because it is about what it means to succeed on your fertility journey. Now, of course, this does include what the results of a truly holistic approach can be, what we see in our clinics, in our private practices, the happy, wonderful outcomes that we see when families are created. And of course, that's going to be the vision of success that you have in your mind, and we're going to hold that with you and support you in working towards that. But also, we want to talk about what else success can mean, and can it mean several things? Can there be small and big successes along the way as well as working towards that final outcome? And can you succeed even before your baby arrives? So we're going to be looking at all of those different ways of looking at success and valuing your entire experience of your fertility journey and your path to parenthood, and how it impacts on you, your health and your wider life. So it's a very big topic to talk about, isn't it, Claire? And we have lots to share. But we're going to try and keep to time, because these are kind of bite-sized webinars that we want you to be able to watch in their entirety, the webinar 1, 2 and 3, so that you can get that full rounded picture of what a holistic approach to fertility means. You can see what it feels like to be supported by and guided by us, the AlphaZita team, and hopefully see if you would like to work with us further. So let's go into our first topic that we want to talk about, Claire. And it would be good to think about, what a successful outcome on a fertility journey looks like. I mean, we know what the kind of obvious one, the one is that people are working towards, that healthy baby, that healthy outcome. And that is what we're focused on in those steps 1 and 2. But how else can we define success along the way? I'd love to hear from you, Claire, about how you look at success.
It's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because people say to me all the time, what are your success rates? And for me, a success is a woman that has gone from having painful, uncomfortable periods that are now having happy, healthy periods, and they've embraced them. So for me, that's a success. Or the woman that comes thinking that they're desperate for a second child, and then you spend some time journeying with them and doing the work, and they realise that actually they don't want a second child. Their creation that they want to birth is actually they want to become an interior designer. Or the women that have got the issues with their mother. I say mother because a lot of the time it does seem to come up as mother-daughter issues. And that through doing this work and trying to clear the blocks, emotional, spiritual, and so you can feel them physically, that they then go on to either reforming and rebuilding a stronger, more positive relationship with their mum, or they learn how to not be reactive to it and to be okay in their bodies and not have that reaction within their bodies. So that's success. There's so many different variations, I think, that certainly I see within my work, that I see it's often about finding the whole story. Like you said, a fertility journey isn't just getting the baby. It's such a whole life picture. It's their interaction with other people, with their partners, with who they are, how they feel about themselves. It's also about their physical traumas that maybe they've been holding, pain or cramping that they get with their periods, to then not have those. They're all a part of the success of working, so that even if they don't end up with a baby at the end, which obviously we want them to, they have still received something that's beneficial and is going to make their life more fulfilled, more juicy, happier, more pain-free. And that for me is anyone who gets any bonuses out of the treatment certainly within my therapy, then obviously that's a success. But, you know, we haven't got our nutritionists here or acupuncturists, but I know that the same thing, we're building those foundations, that they're going to be healthier. They're going to have healthier cells, which gives them, you know, healthier longevity, and, you know, can work on that real foundation of who they are. So, yeah, I'll stop waffling.
No, it's not never waffle with you, Claire. And it's interesting because as you were talking about how success appears for the women and the couples that you support, I was thinking how similar that feels to the success I see for mine, because we are working from that emotional, spiritual perspective, and we see their lives open up, don't we, and become more fulfilling along the way. It's not as if they're putting off living their lives anymore until they get to that success with having their baby. You know, they become more fulfilled in the meanwhile. But as you were thinking that, and I was thinking my answer is going to be fairly similar, you know, and on a similar vein. But we know that in our multidisciplinary team here at AlphaZita, we work in many different ways. We have the medical side, as you say, the nutritional side, the acupuncturist as well. But all of us, I think, in our own ways, do see those successes along the way. And I was just thinking of Rosie, actually, specifically, Rosie Letts, our nutritionist. And she was talking about this in the last webinar as well, about how actually you can embrace the dietary changes and the lifestyle changes along the way. And that is a positive step that you're taking for yourself. And it's not something just to be endured, or, you know, I've given up these foods or whatever, and I'm missing it, and I have to try these other foods that I don't want to try. You know, instead it's stepping into a place of embracing it and celebrating it, and, you know, enjoying the new opportunities that have been brought in, and actually making that a part of a successful life along the way, you know. And good health obviously is what we're all aiming towards as well. So yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it. And I'd be interested to know, actually, in our viewers right now, if they're viewing their own fertility journey, and whether they have noticed successes along the way, or whether they've been really focused, understandably, on that final outcome of the baby that they're aiming for, which we are just as much, you know, we really want that for them, but whether it kind of almost put the blinkers onto everything else because they were kind of waiting for that one. So it's an interesting way to kind of expand the view, isn't it? And also I was thinking about Dr. Zakos, who was with us at the previous 2 webinars, from his perspective, medically, you know, whilst he supports all of us and our therapists, he works as a fertility consultant. A lot of patients come through him for IVF or other medical treatment to support their fertility. And I know when I've been in the clinic with him, and I saw him with a British couple, actually, that had flown over to Greece and were having treatment with him, and I was sitting in with them at the time. He was really celebrating every single step of that cycle with them. Really celebrating. I'm talking hugs and tears and laughter and like really celebrating like the number of eggs and the quality of the eggs and the embryos, you know, at each stage. And how wonderful is that to bring that energy of celebration in? And you could feel the whole room kind of light up with the couple, with me who was sitting with them, with him. You know, it just felt wonderful to celebrate every successful step, not just being clinical, like, oh, here's the numbers and, you know, delivering it, actually celebrating it. So yeah, there's a great power in that, isn't there?
And I think I just want to say a quick, when I first met Dr. Zakos, and he explained that the reason he wanted to create us as a team is that together we will be able to really support and nourish and hold all of his clients through their journey. Because he said if a client gets to the end of their journey with us, and even if they don't have a baby, as long as they still feel held and nurtured and whole, he said, then we've done a good job. And I think I did kind of probably lean over and give him a great big hug and go, yeah, I want to be in this team. Because it's a different approach, certainly from the medical side, but it's the approach that together the whole of us in our AlphaZita team have. And I think that's really special, that we do all want to be there to kind of hold everybody by the hand as they go through it.
One thing that strikes me is like valuing the people, isn't it? It's not just the life, that person that we're looking to bring in and create. It's all the people that are involved in this, you know, and valuing the life and valuing their experiences, and those people who are looking to become parents. You know, if you're supported along the way and you feel whole and you feel joyful and comfortable, then you're going to be prepared for parenthood, and you're going to embrace parenthood when it comes. I don't know what you've seen, Claire. I'm sure you have seen this when you have people come to you who have perhaps been through multiple IVF cycles before without any holistic support, without any mindset or emotional support. And they can be pretty traumatized by the constant cycles, the failures, the setbacks, the negative news or the way it's delivered, having to pick themselves up and carry on. And I wonder, you know, if that is the only approach that is available, not that it is, we know that other approaches are available, but that is, if that's all that someone accesses, how do they feel when they finally get their pregnancy test result? You know, if they haven't had the support and nurturing and the celebrations along the way, and they feel traumatized by everything, you know, and then they're having to step into 9 months of pregnancy and then new motherhood, and you know, they're kind of on high alert for perhaps the next potential setback or something else to go wrong, you know, and being super cautious of their baby and watching them while they're sleeping. You know, it can continue, can't it, if we don't nurture the woman as she goes.
Absolutely. And we actually store that fear in our psoas muscle. So we hold it inside us, and then, you know, the babies that we're then giving birth to, they're going to carry that through into their generation. So it's a really interesting point, but it is absolutely, we and you do see it a lot with people, like you've just explained, that they become so overprotective of their children. Those children then kind of step into that role of, you know, not being able to breathe effectively because they're just like, you know, they're kind of held like this. So it's the impact. I think what I'm kind of wanting to try to say is the impact that it has when someone goes through an IVF journey where they're not held and loved and celebrated along the way, that it's such a different experience, and that feeds through the next generations rather than, you know, how we like to approach it.
Yeah. So let's talk about some real situations or stories or typical stories. You know, what have we seen then as we've been working with the women, the couples that we've supported, whether they've been through medical treatment or natural or a combination of the two? Could you share an example of a success story, you could say, whether that is success along the way, final outcome, combination, ideally?
Yeah, I think one that because again, I was really thinking about which one do I share, because I know we're obviously limited on time. And one of my very first clients, when I came back to the UK and started doing the work back here, she heard me actually on one of your tele summits from back in 2013, I think. And she came to me because I'd been talking about spotting before periods. And so through a consultation, we realised that it wasn't just the fact that she spotted before her periods, and she'd gone through 8 years already of IVF journey, of not conceiving, of never, ever, ever getting pregnant. But going through the consultation with her, we realised that she'd had a car accident at the age of 17. And although she'd only had whiplash, that had actually triggered all the way down her spine through to her coccyx. And so the other symptom that was coming out of that was that she'd never been able to receive an orgasm. And so I did the work with her, and through doing the physical massage and working around the coccyx external, around the coccyx, it started to not only release the tension physically and probably emotionally that she'd held in that coccyx, so that she was then able to go on and actually enjoy sexual intercourse. But also it meant that the nerves that were feeding through there were also feeding through into the womb and the vagina. And she ended up being able to have a stronger tone of her womb, so that when she got her bleed, she would start, get a nice bright red flesh blood, and stop. So there was no spotting. So this showed us that her womb was obviously stronger and the tone was there. So then when she went on to have her next IVF cycle, obviously we did, it was in the days when I used to do the nutrition and the herbal medicine as well. So she had, you know, the full package that, like we do with the AlphaZita. But she went on to have another IVF cycle, and that time she conceived. And I do remember the neighbours actually came and knocked on my door to check that I was okay, because I had the windows open, and when I got the phone call to say she was pregnant, I screamed so loudly that my neighbours actually came, because I was so delighted, because it was an 8-year journey, it turned into a 9-year journey by that point. And I still, to this day, I still catch up with her every now and then. I go and visit her and her little daughter. And she went on to conceive and to have a beautiful little girl. But also, you know, the joy out of that was that she also went on to be able to enjoy sexual intercourse, but also she wasn't having the pain that had been undiagnosed, and also healthier periods. So there were so many different elements of the success, and that was on a very physical level. But yeah, I think that's probably my favourite one, probably because I still get hugs from the little girl as well.
Still celebrating now.
Yeah.
Exactly. Every birthday. Yeah. Yeah. And I can, because I know you well, Claire, I can just imagine how loud that celebration was. But like I was saying about Dr. Sakos, you know, it's that connection that we feel, isn't it? When you are with someone and you know, you see what they're going through, you see what they've been through before they got to you, and then you can nurture that and bring out their strengths and their, you know, everything that they, you know, is all that potential is locked away. And gosh, just hearing about that realization, you know, spotting, I would think probably is very rarely looked at from that perspective. Usually it's kind of looked at, is it progesterone deficiency or something else, which it may well be for some people, but isn't that interesting that through your work, through a different element of looking at her and her fertility and her health, that you could unlock that potentially wouldn't have been, well, it wouldn't have been with standard medical treatment. You know, it's really bringing the whole picture together. So wonderful. What a way to celebrate. And I bet she was celebrating along the way, you know, everything else that was achieved and how easier and more comfortable and more enjoyable her life was along the way, and what her body was healthier and more nourished. And
exactly.
Beautiful. And no doubt she probably recovered from birth more easily, I would imagine, once her womb was in better shape. And good. So I was also thinking, where do I begin? And even as you were saying that, I think the story that I wanted to share, which is one that was given permission for me to share, had its kind of similarities there, but you know, they can be similarities, but very different stories as well. And this was a woman who I was supporting. She was in her early 40s and had been through IVF and hadn't had any success at all with IVF. So was looking to conceive naturally maybe, but potentially prepare for her final IVF cycle. And she was looking great, you know, from a physical perspective. She'd been doing a lot of work with nutrition and herbal medicine and everything she could do to support herself physically and get her fertility optimized. And her cycle was great and everything looked good on paper, and, you know, hormonal balance and everything. And I was working from the mindset perspective and looking at her emotional well-being. And so she first of all noticed how very stressed she was throughout everything, you know, how life just felt stressful, where she was living and the experiences she'd been through on her journey. So we worked with kind of day-to-day stress, which was wonderful just to see that, you know, released and her to enjoy life. And that was being celebrated, definitely, just to have that management of stress and that release of stress and be able to, you know, enjoy life again. And it was only in her very last session though, that, because I was still a bit puzzled, like, well, why is she not getting pregnant? You know, there is everything is balanced and she is ready, and, you know, there's no apparent reason not to be conceiving here. And we were at that point just working towards the next IVF cycle, the final IVF cycle then in that case. But it was in the final session, and this is what reminded me of the lady you shared with there, that she suddenly had a feeling. We talked about actually visualizing becoming pregnant. It was like, so that is your next stage. You're now ready, you're prepared. Imagine yourself pregnant. Imagine yourself growing your baby and giving birth to your baby. And I invited her to kind of visualize and imagine that. And then she felt some fear come up that she hadn't realized was there, because she hadn't allowed herself to go ahead and visualize that. And the fear was around not being able to give birth successfully or naturally or at all, because then it was a similar age, I believe, like late teens. She had been born with problems in her hips and her lower back. And she had seen a doctor in her late teens who had examined her and told her that she should never get pregnant because she will never be able to give birth naturally. And of course, you know, that doesn't even mean you shouldn't get pregnant, because there are cesarean births, you know, there's always another option, but still the word stayed with her so strongly that she should never get pregnant because she'll never be able to give birth naturally. And she walked out of the surgery in tears and shock and traumatized by this news she'd been given. And all this was coming back to her as she imagined herself being pregnant and giving birth. So we used EFT, the technique that I use, emotional freedom techniques, to clear the emotional energy that was still attached to that memory. It was like, how many decades earlier? Over 2 decades earlier. But she was still as if it had just happened yesterday. She could still feel the trauma and the words ringing in her ears, like still see the doctor's surgery vividly. You know, it was like it was yesterday. So we applied EFT to that memory. It became more distant. It became more kind of rational. You know, it was like, okay, so that was that doctor's opinion. And actually other doctors' opinions came in then And she said, well, actually, I know I saw another doctor afterwards, and they gave me a much more balanced view and positive view, and that I would be able to conceive and give birth, and there's no reason why not. But those had been kind of pushed to the side because this traumatic moment had been what had stayed with her. Anyway, she felt really as if she cleared something. And I remember how like joyful she was at the end of the session. She was like, that's it. That's just what I needed to do. I feel comfortable now. I can go ahead with that IVF cycle. I'm ready. There's nothing stopping me now. It feels comfortable. It's good. I can get pregnant. But she didn't get to the IVF cycle because she conceived naturally. And yay, we celebrated. And she gave birth to her baby naturally. I believe it was in like less than 3 hours without pain relief, in her early 40s, a first baby. So amazing. And it just felt like that she had really unlocked something along the way. So, and that was definitely, as you were saying, it's those celebrations of rediscovering herself and celebrating life and, everything else along the way. And then hope, which is what we always hope for, is, and what we're working towards, is that success at the end as well with their healthy baby. So
I love
great
success.
It's just amazing work that we're privileged to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every day to have this part in their journeys. So it's great to celebrate them. So I hope if you're listening to this that those kind of stories inspire you, and they may be very different from your own story. Of course, everyone's story is unique, but there isn't any reason why, whatever your story is, whatever's happened already, and whatever lies ahead as well for you, that you can't have the kind of support that will nurture you, recognize you as the person at the center of this journey, and involve you and celebrate with you along the way, and see those successes as we go as well, which is what we're all about at AlphaZita. And every single member of the team works in that way, whether they are medically trained and that's how they work, or whether they are like Claire and I on the more natural, emotional, energetic side. Everyone is working in a similar way. So lovely, Claire. So good to talk to you about these topics. And I know that we have something else very special that we'd like to share with all our viewers, which, if you have watched the previous 2 webinars, you'll already be fully aware of this. But time is ticking on now. It's not long until our Fertility Retreat in the beautiful Sani Resort in Greece. It's in October. And we would absolutely love to invite you to join us. So Claire, I have talked about this quite a lot in our previous webinars, and I've always invite who I'm speaking to, it was Gordana and Dr. Zakos and Rosie, to share like what is special about this retreat. Why should someone book time off work, book their flights, get on a plane, come to meet us, the whole AlphaZita team in Greece? Like, what is their experience going to be? Why is it worthwhile? Can you share your perspective?
I think it's just magical. It's an opportunity to really just calm and immerse yourself, not just in obviously the beautiful surroundings, but immerse yourself in our wisdom, in our energy. You've got us there all on hand. And I think by having the collective of all of us there together, it allows us to piece the pieces of the puzzle together, but also we may be able to unlock maybe the missing piece for you. I think when we're all together, it raises our energy, but it allows us that time with you to really get to know you on a much more in-depth basis than when you just walk into our clinic. Yes, obviously we do get to know people very well over those period of times, but being there all together, becoming part of a family, really, it's relaxed. And I think because it is so relaxed, you kind of settle into that. And I know that the other couples that have been before, we've kind of remained where we are, lifelong friends. And we still have that connection and bond. It forms a much deeper bond, so that we're there to really support you every step of the way. And it really does allow you to get to ask us those questions, spend more time, really dip in and take absorb as much as you can from us. It is just a really magical experience, and I think because it is something so completely different from anything else, as I think Dr. Gibbons said before, it's the blueprint of how fertility treatment should be. It's coming, spending that time, really getting to grips with what's going on for your fertility journey from all different angles. and really gaining as much wisdom as you possibly can in a really beautiful setting as well. So yeah, come join us.
I don't think I can add anything to that. It's so interesting when you said though about that extra time and that extra insight as well that we get to notice and you notice in yourself when you're attending a retreat like this, you know, because you will have the set sessions, you know, the workshops, the talks, the individual consultations that you'll have within the time together, but it's those extra moments as well, isn't it, like you say, that wouldn't be available in your London clinic or my online consultations. You know, it's that extra bonus stuff, the sitting together and, you know, sharing a meal together and chatting about life, and, you know, other elements, that walk on the beach that you'll take when you've taken part in a ceremony with Claire, and you just have that space to just be with yourself and be with your partner and really, you know, explore what this all means for you and what you're going to take home from this retreat experience as well. So it's a unique experience, isn't it, that can't be recreated at home. You know, this is something that does require jumping on that plane. It does require taking time out, and it's not, you know, a huge commitment. It's only from the 10th to the 13th of October. It's just spending that dedicated time focusing on yourself, your fertility, and as you said, being completely held and nurtured and supported by all of us. We will give you as much guidance and as much knowledge and, you know, a plan to take away as we possibly can in that time together. You know, you're not just coming for kind of superficial knowledge given to you. It's individual. It's about understanding you and creating a plan for you and beginning that support as well as we are together in Greece. So yes, I'd really encourage you to look into this. And so it's not long now, it's the 10th to the 13th of October. If you are at all interested or curious, please go ahead and look at alphazita.com. Check out the retreat page there. We'll also be sending you links by email, and browse exactly what is included and all the wonderful stuff you'll receive as a guest at Sani Resort as well. It's just a beautiful 5-star luxury resort that you just relax the minute you step into there. It's beautiful. There's no cars. It's just peaceful, isn't it? And wonderful. And beautiful beaches and sunshine and gorgeous. And then yes, if you are interested, you obviously can go ahead and book, or you can also book a free chat with us first as well. So if you would like to have a chat further, find out exactly what the retreat could offer you, if you've got any specific questions about it, just get in touch with us at info@alphazita.com. That's info@alphazita.com, or contact us through the website, or just hit reply on any of the emails that we've sent you, and we can arrange a time to have a chat online and answer all your questions and hopefully welcome you to Greece very soon. It'd be lovely to see you out there. Thank you, Claire, for joining me this evening. It's been a lovely exploration and chat through our third webinar, our success webinar. It's been wonderful. Thank you for joining me. It's always
my pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone else for listening in and taking part in this 3-part series. I hope it has been really useful for you. It may be something that you do want to revisit, you want to listen to those webinars again. And remember, if you do want to take it that step further, we are here as a team to support you. Feel free to reach out to us, and it would be a privilege to support you on your own journey to parenthood. Bye-bye, everybody.